You're here because you know something, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there.
Don't worry, don't be afraid, ever. This is just a ride.
I'm picking up vibrations. I'm picking up vibrations. I'm picking up vibrations.
Why is NASA part Department of Defense? They divided up the seas into 33 degrees, feeding kids masonry. Bruh, be careful what you read. Flatline, flatline. There's no superior bloodline. Flatline, flatline. You got me once, but that died. Ayy. I see only good things on the horizon. That's probably why the horizon is always rising. Indoctrinated in a cult called science, and graduated to a club full of liars. Heliocentrism, you were the sixth victim. Fuck you and your team, you can sit on the bench with them, they nervous. But before you try to curve it, do your research on David Irving.
So you want to find the farthest point from that center. And it turns out sea level at the equator is farther away from the center of the Earth than sea level near the poles. It has nothing to do with global warming and melting of the ice caps.
Why is that?
Because Earth, we know it spins once a day. Yes, thank you. 3 people know how long a day lasts here.
Good for row number 2. They're off to a great start.
So you spin, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens out.
Yeah.
Gets wider in the middle. And so Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning. And it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the poles. So it's not actually a sphere, it's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good word. It's like pear-shaped.
Yeah.
So it turns out the pear-shapedness is bigger than the height of Mount Everest above sea level.
And this time round on Good Vibrations, we're going for the big one. Yes, we are doing a volume on the flat Earth model, the flat Earth theory, as many would know it. It's a subject area which inevitably divides opinion, and just the very mention of that phrase has probably turned a whole bunch of people off. There does tend to be a lot of emotional attachment to this subject area on both sides of the fence. It does seem to be the case in my experience that a lot of people will just reject the whole subject area out of hand purely because it just doesn't sound right. They won't look at the evidence, they won't actually spend the time looking at the arguments that come from the other camp because they've already decided that it sounds ridiculous, so it can't possibly be true. And I'm very familiar with that way of looking at things through a subject area that I've got into myself quite a bit in recent times, and it also features in my upcoming book, and that is the Paul McCartney replacement theory. I'm very much aware that when you mention this subject to certain people, their eyes glaze over and they go into defensive mode immediately. And it seems to be pretty much the case with the flat earth theory. I've held off from doing a podcast on this subject for quite a while because I've been trying to make sense of the whole thing myself and assimilate all the information in my own mind. I felt it was only right to get into this subject area though and give it some airing because we've covered all kinds of other controversial subjects, so why not this one? And I've lined up a guest that is already very well known within the sort of truth alternative field. We've featured him before on Good Vibrations. Is Santos Bonacci. We're crossing over to Australia to have a chat with him because he's one of the most vocal proponents of the flat earth model in recent times, and I know he's taken his fair share of stick because of it, which kind of proves the point that I was making just a short while ago. I'm going to be putting to him some of the observations, comments, objections from those that sit firmly in the heliocentric model side of things. And I think it's going to be a very lively and interesting discussion. Best listened to, of course, with an open mind. Let's talk to Santos Bonacci. Hey Santos, how you doing, brother?
Great, yourself?
I'm all right, mate, yeah. And we spoke, I think it was 2014, first time you came on Good Vibrations. And we got into a whole load of deep stuff then, so it's good to reconnect.
Yeah, it is. Likewise. Thanks, Mark.
So today, I really wanted to get into the flat earth subject area. It's known as the flat earth theory. I know that you would claim it's not a theory at all. But it's only in very recent times that I've heard you come out on radio shows and such and start talking about this, probably the last 18 months or so. So what led to you kind of really going all out on this subject?
Yeah, well, knowing it is one thing. The other thing is that we are taught to scoff at it, you see. So basically I've known it since I was a kid because the Jehovah's Witnesses taught us to to laugh at it. Yeah, so cognitive dissonance sets in at an early age, and through various stages of our lives we are introduced to the flat earth concept. But we're taught to go with the crowd because the crowd has been indoctrinated in such a way since kindergarten. The globe is there. And so children here in Australia are taught to suspend their intelligence, and they believe they're upside down, or at least they vocalise these passed on teachings a la parrot style. And so I eventually stopped laughing at the flat earth model because, of course, as Jehovah's Witnesses we'd be laughing, oh look how funny the ancients were, you know, they did not know the true God Jehovah and thought the earth was flat, supported by turtles swimming on waters and all of this. So, but one starts to stop in their tracks when they do research properly and think things through. And I mean, I could name any one of thousands of reasons why it's absolutely true that we live on a perfectly flat disk Earth. And one of those reasons would be the bullseye type time-lapse images of the North Pole. Now, people say this is proof that we're spinning. Well, no, it's not. This is totally proof of the opposite, that the sky is spinning. Obviously, it has to be. Unless these images are taken from the very, very center of the North Pole. They cannot be taken on any other part of the Earth, and yet they are taken in Italy, America, Canada, and all parts of the so-called Northern Hemisphere. And it is so easy to prove that this, in fact, is evidence that the sky is moving and the Earth is absolutely 100% stationary. Because, you see, they tell you that we rotate and we orbit. So these two motions automatically cancel those beautiful star trails in a perfect bullseye form. Totally. They would have to, the only way you could get this effect is if you were standing directly under or at the North Pole, because both of the rotation, only the rotation can produce that effect, you see. So if there's an orbit, again, cancels out the bullseye. And so not only are these two the two motions that scientists tell us that we are constantly in a flux with, undergoing, there are also two other motions. So the rotation's 1,000 miles an hour at the equator of the Earth. The orbit's 670,000 miles an hour around the Sun. And the Sun's carrying us, speeding at a velocity of 550,000 miles an hour around a central point in the Milky Way galaxy. And then the Milky Way galaxy is hurtling through space at a ridiculous, gee, I've forgotten the ridiculous figure. It's so ridiculous I don't want to crystallize it in my memory, actually. I'm trying to avoid it. Yeah. But all of those motions, four motions, totally cancel these bullseye images. So there's one easy way. That's all you need. Don't need anything else.
I'm certainly familiar with many of the main points that are put forward by the flat earth advocates as to why this has to be the case. And I think a lot of people that kind of wholesale reject this idea would also be familiar with the evidence that is put forward. And a lot of them do seem to be very compelling and very convincing. It does take a big leap of faith to kind of nail your colours to this particular mast, though, which is why so many people stay on the fence with it for so long. I'm on the fence with it myself. I've listened to stuff that you've said in previous interviews, and I do find a lot of the information very difficult to argue with. But for the reason that you outlined at the very start of the interview, which is that you get scoffed at and you get ridiculed if you firmly place both feet in this camp, a lot of people want to be absolutely sure before they kind of put their name to it. What I would like to do is just voice a few questions and concerns on behalf of those who have not yet committed fully to accepting the flat earth model, and to get your responses to it, because I know that these people would want to ask these questions themselves if they had the opportunity. So the first thing I'd like to put to you is, where do you think this current fashionability of the flat earth model came from? Because over the past 18 months or so, it seems to have come out of nowhere in terms of taken on its own life in recent times. And it's led a lot of people to suspect that it may be some kind of Psyop orchestrated by the CIA and NASA and who knows what other organisations to kind of lead truth seekers up the garden path and keeping them distracted from looking at other real world issues, and also to discredit anything else they might have to say once they nail their colours to the flat earth mast. What would be your reaction to that suggestion, first off? And where do you think this current fashionability for the flat earth model came from?
Well, it springs from the fact that people are awakening, you see, and there's no fear to spread forth the truth anymore. People are sick of the lies, and this is the biggest of all the lies. So if it's a psyop, it goes back to the Vedic wisdom. It goes back to the Bible then, and then it goes back to the Mayans and the Babylonians and the Egyptians and the Chinese and the Nordic and the Druidic and the ancient Roman and the Hebrew and all those systems. They are all geocentric. And so what you'll find is that in the dark age of the Kali Yuga, the Iron Age, which really began a couple of thousand years ago, you could say, the materialist philosopher came forth, and the spiritualist was pretty much vanquished. And that period of the parting of the ways is exemplified with Plato and his student Aristotle. Aristotle parted to create the materialistic philosophical peripatetic school, where the philosophers would walk and contemplate the nature of the material universe walking around the cinder track, whereas Plato went off to teach the true transcendental Platonic theology, which is transcendental science. So transcendental science and pseudoscience have been at war for many thousands of years, and the Psyop is actually the globe, the ball. This is the worship of Baal, the worship of the ball. It's Baal worship. It's false. It's always been known to be false. We don't live on a ball. We're not spinning around. The centrifugal forces around the equator would be much, much stronger than people living in northern parts of Canada or Alaska. Where's the differential? You can't feel it. You go to Ecuador, there's no difference. You should be flying off like a merry-go-round, or like one of those little turntables where they put little children on them. The centrifugal pressure pushes you outward, not inward, as hocus pocus gravity would would teach. We're supposed to be stuck to the globe, whereas the 1,000 miles an hour, faster than the speed of sound, rotating centrifugal forces at the equator should fling you off into the heavens. And gravity should be so heavy at the poles, because there's no centrifugal force, it's total crock. There's no ball, there's no Baal.
These are some of the most difficult things for globe Earth theorists to debunk, particularly the one where we're told that the Earth is spinning at a rate of, 1,100 miles an hour or something, and the average intercontinental flight is something like 550 miles per hour. So on that basis, if you're travelling from west to east, how do flights ever reach their destination when the Earth is travelling faster than they are? And as you've said, you're in Australia right now. I'm speaking to you from England. You should be upside down from me, and you're stuck to the globe by gravity or whatever it is. But you are, to all intents and purposes, upside down, and all the buildings in all the cities are upside down, and all the cars are driving upside down. How is that possible? You know, these are the most difficult things to debunk, I feel.
Oh, they haven't got a hope, because it's indoctrination that they're defending to the death.
And isn't it interesting that we seem to have come full circle, no pun intended. When you look back a few hundred years, conventional wisdom had it that we lived on a flat plane, and people used to believe that you could actually sail off the edge if you went too far. And then came, you know, Copernicus and Galileo and all these characters with their globe Earth model, and suddenly the whole paradigm got kind of redrawn, and it got accepted into the universities and colleges and such, and was taught in academia, as you say. And so for the past 100 years, we've been conditioned and programmed through the schooling system to believe that we live on a globe, and there are globe sort of motifs and icons everywhere, as I've heard you point out as well, just to kind of subliminally reinforce that fact. But now you've got a whole bunch of people coming round to the idea that actually the first model was correct after all, and that the globe is a lie. So there's these changing sort of belief systems all the time. And it's very interesting that Obama came out with his comment last year, a very disparaging comment where he said, "We don't want a meeting of the Flat Earth Society here," and got a big laugh for it at one of his public speeches. And there's got to be a reason why he included that line in his speech, because these guys don't throw away these kind of comments for nothing. So that would have been scripted into what he had to say that day for a reason.
And the reason why, of course, Barack Obama hasn't got any time to have a meeting with the Flat Earth Society, like someone like me, that will debunk his demon-worshipping cabal and put them in jail. Of course they haven't got time, because if they had some time and stopped, people would expose them as the dog-eating demons that they are, and they're controlling all of us beautiful people here, and we are being possessed with idiotic demon thoughts that they teach Darwinian evolution and ape-man crap and Big Bang rubbish. And so, of course, he hasn't got time, has he? But one day, Barack Obama, and you just remember my name, Santos Bonacci, you will be in jail for the demonic things that you are doing.
I'm very interested in considering what an acceptance of the Flat Earth model negates. You know, that which has to be thrown out because the two are not mutually compatible. So if the Flat Earth is correct, this is my number one question really, because from when I first started considering this whole subject area, this is the one that has really bugged me. Where does it leave us regarding zodiacal ages and the phenomenon of precession of the equinoxes? Because this is all based around what we're told is a slight wobble of the Earth on its axis over vast periods of time. The sun at the vernal equinox is seen to rise against a different zodiacal constellation. I'm sure you're familiar with the concept. And precession is encoded in many ancient monuments and writings from civilizations all over the ancient world. It seems to me that if the Flat Earth is correct, then precession and, you know, these zodiacal constellations have to be thrown out.
No, not at all. The perspective needs to change, that's all. The heliocentric model is erroneous, pure and simple. The sun's not the center. Helios, the father. It's Gaia, the mother. It's geocentric. And so these boy god worshipping patriarchal misogynistic Jehovah boy god that the monotheists aberration teach has usurped the true teaching of the Isis and Radharani and Mary, the mother goddess, geocentric true cosmology. You see, we are centered in the earth. The earth is the center. Earth is an anagram for heart. Heart, earth, ether, all the same word. And so the heart is the core. Core is heart, not the sun. And that tells you Earth, heart, core, middle. Therefore, it's geocentric. And in order to be geocentric, one would revert to the understanding of the matriarchal nature of the universe, and to balance the two rather than be unbalanced in this patriarchal heliocentric system. Okay, and so, and what was the question again? Just remind me, because I haven't got to that yet.
Yeah, so are you saying that precession is still possible because it's the stars and the constellations that are moving and not us?
Okay, so the dome, vault, firmament, starry sidereal heaven, which is the 8th sphere above our head, which is the octave, the 7 luminaries are below this vault of the heavens, which is the zodiac and the stars. And these two systems, the sun on the ecliptic with its planets, so-called planets, the wandering stars, they move in circles contrary to the 8th sphere, which is the sidereal system. So below is the tropical system, the sun on the ecliptic as it goes through Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, the Aries spring equinox, the Cancer summer solstice, the autumnal Libran 23rd of September autumnal equinox, and the Capricorn 21st of December solstice. These are below the sidereal zodiac. And so this roof, this chandelier, according to the Vedic scriptures, the chandelier that God made above our heads, the starry vault, it turns 360 times every year, perfectly. And the sun, on the other hand, it needs 365 and a quarter revolutions. So there is a differential. There is a contrary motion. There is something that perplexes man in this. This differential has always disturbed man, modern man. And so this is the cause of the influences of the two systems, the tropical and the sidereal system. And so what appears to happen is a slippage with this differential, and it's called precession of the equinox. And so the sun appears to wander through the ecliptic, through the zodiac, 30 degrees every 2,000 years backward. It precesses. And so this can be explained by the differential of these 2 years, the 360 and the 365 and a quarter. And it's so simple. We don't need a globe and a wobble, a hocus-pocus wobble on an axis, hurtling through space to explain this. This is hocus-pocus. It's dodgy. It's so shonky. And it disturbs the intelligent ones. This is why there's a list of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of great men and women who have written great books and treatises on the flat earth. All you have to do is Google how many people have written about the flat earth, and you'll see the list goes on and on and on and on. And yet, hocus pocus, Einsteinian relativity and gravity, Newtonian gravity and Copernican globalism are taught in all of the institutions. And why don't people like Robotham and all these great writers who gave proof and about the flat earth, and why do we not talk about Airy's failure in 1871 with his water-filled telescope proved conclusively that we do not move? What about Sagnac in 1913 with his light experiment, splitting a beam of light around a table to see whether the ether would slow down the light, or whether phony Einsteinian relativity would affect the light, and he proved that there is an ether and therefore we are not rotating. What about the Michelson and Morley experiment with the tunnel, the 6 mile water channel where they found no curvature? There's no curvature. There's absolutely no curvature. You can see Chicago ramping up to your eye horizon from Milwaukee, from the opposite state, 120 miles away. You can be sitting in Veneto, Italy, Geneva, Italy, and you can see the Isle of Elba 125 miles away, sitting above the ocean.
I was on a flight over Europe last week in a window seat actually, and I saw no curvature. You know, I had a brilliant view of who knows how many hundreds of miles from about 37,000 feet up, and there was no curvature evident, I have to say.
It does not exist.
This will not surprise you.
Yeah, it's surprising that people just want, a curvature that they concoct in their own half-cocked, half-witted minds. You know, I had an argument with a friend that I've known for 20 years, and he was disgusted that because he's been up 45,000 miles in a plane and he's seen curvature. Well, I asked him, did you see that curvature at your eye level, 360 degrees around? Well, yes, I think I did. Well, then that is not curvature, because even if the Earth had a circumference of not 25,000 miles, 250,000 miles, add a few zeros, add 4 or 5, add 6, add 40 zeros, add as many zeros as you want, you would never, ever, ever see the horizon at your eye level in a jet at 45 or 39,000 or 10,000 miles high. You would see a slope, and not a slope, a curved parabolic curve, which means 8 inches by the distance squared. So 8 inches for the first mile, 32 for the next, 78 for the third mile. And so the Isle of Elba, that should be about 8 miles, 8,000 feet below your eye level, but you're sitting there in Geneva drinking coffee and you can see it high up. It actually ramps up to your eye. Always, the horizon is always up to your eye. And isn't it interesting that you can be upside down and yet your eye is always adjusted to a level horizon? That's because up is up and down is down, and the horizon is flat and level, and up is up and down is down. And to hell with relativism, because it's hocus pocus, phony shonky.
Just going back to what you were talking about a few minutes ago, where we were talking about the phenomenon of precession and how that's still possible. Presumably, if it's ourselves that aren't moving and the sun that is, this would account for the solstices and the equinoxes then, and the movements that we see on those occasions. I'm thinking specifically about the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, as we're told, where the sun effectively dies for 3 days, you know, where it dips below the horizon for the 22nd, 23rd and 24th of December, rises again on the 25th, which is the origins of the modern celebrations of Christmas, of course. That would all still be possible when you realise that it's the other bodies that are moving and not ourselves. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, the sun does 365 and a quarter circles every year in a tent-like, teepee-like formation, where the bottom of the teepee is the larger circle. That would be the Tropic of Capricorn. And the top of the teepee, which is a tighter and more compact, smaller circle, that would be the Tropic of Cancer. And in the middle is where the equinoxes happen. And so this is a vortex. It's clearly a vortex. The sun is vortexing in the sky. Helios is a helix, as in DNA helix. And so as it goes up to the Tropic of Cancer, it compresses. And souls are attracted and introduced into this solar system through this contraction. And then as it expands and it goes down the Christmas tree, teepee, to the Tropic of Capricorn, it expands. And the ancients always said that Cancer is the gateway of men and Capricorn is the gateway of gods, because etherealized and self-realized beings return to the heavens from that tropic, at the Tropic of Cancer, which is Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. Saturn's the grim reaper. Saturn is the harvester. He has a scythe, a sickle in his hand, and so he reaps and has a harvest of souls. Whereas the moon rules in Cancer, and the moon is the ovaries and the womb of the solar system. She brings the souls in through from her sphere onto the earth, and the earth clothes us with this garment, this physical body, because of dust you are, and dust you shall return.
So, no hemispheres, no equator, and no poles. So, out goes any suggestion of magnetic north and south poles then, I guess. And we're taught that many birds and sea creatures use the poles to navigate themselves around. We're also told that in the remote past there have been cataclysmic magnetic pole shifts which have caused devastation to the Earth. So I guess all of that can't be possible within this model.
Yes, they can. The so-called pole shifts are not pole shifts. The sun appears to rise in the east and set in the west. Well, the Egyptians, Herodotus in particular, noted in his histories that the Egyptians kept records that every 12,000 years the sun changes its rotation. And this is not a pole shift. You see, now they say, oh, the ball has flipped, so now the sun rises in the west and sets in the east. Well, Herodotus said the Egyptians tell us, they teach, that the sun stops in the sky and it returns and it goes back the other way for 12,000 years. And then it stops and it goes 12,000 years the other way. And so, yes, it does work. Everything works. You just have to use the correct model. And that's what I'm here for. I'm happy to do the work, and I will till I draw my last breath. Deflate, destroy, and debunk the hocus-pocus sciences. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, it's all down to redrawing the model, isn't it? Because if you look at the globe, the traditional globe Earth model that all school kids have in their classrooms, and most of us have them in our homes, you look at the way the countries are arranged, and we're told there's an equator, and the closer you get to the equator on the different continents, the hotter the countries get. And then as you move away from the equator, down in the southern hemisphere, going towards the South Pole, it starts to cool off again. So you just have to redraw the whole model, I guess, as to where all the landmass actually lies and where all the continents lie in relation to each other.
Yeah, look, we're going to have to get a lot of clever people together now, and work out how this Earth, the layout of the so-called continents and countries really are, because we don't have any true accurate maps. And this is indicated clearly by the very, very, very strange and unusual flight routes that are taken supposedly around this ball. I can tell you of two experiences that I've had. I've flown from Melbourne to Ecuador, and wondered why we didn't just go straight over to Chile, which you can do. But why is it? This is it. Why is it that instead of all of these planes going direct to South America, which would be so convenient for people, rather than spending, I think I spent nearly 48 hours going to Los Angeles, then to Panama, then to Ecuador. So I went from Melbourne to Sydney, then to Los Angeles, then Panama, and you know how awful it is getting zapped by those, scanners,
Radiation machines, yeah,
and all of that rubbish which could be eliminated. And then I went to Europe in the same year, in 2013, and I flew to China and Dubai. And why? Why couldn't I just go directly to Europe? Well, on a flat Earth, you can see why, because these are direct flights. They are truly direct flights. And what they're doing is they're lying to us and keeping this Copernican demonic model alive so that we can be atheists and idiots and be harvested by the pimpocracy which rules this earth. And so they go out of their way to hide it. But it can't be hidden when you use your mind and you start to see the the way the world really is and ask questions.
So what's going on with airline pilots? Because airline pilots would be adhering to the globe Earth model in terms of their training and in terms of the maps they're given, in terms of the way they're told to navigate their flights. They're all being taken in and they're all being duped, and it's an illusion then that they're buying into, and they just can't see the wood for the trees in terms of what's really going on, because you would think airline pilots would twig.
No, they don't, because this is how easy it is to manipulate the materialist, mundane, swine-eating mind. These people, pilots are intelligent, but what are they doing? They're eating pigs' bums, aren't they? Bacon and eggs for breakfast.
For the most part, yeah.
You know? Yeah, what did you have for breakfast? Oh, I'm sophisticated. I have cappuccino and bacon and eggs. So they're feeding on pigs' bums, you are what you eat, and they've got materialist minds. No spiritualist will eat any kind of dead animal, sentient being carcass. They're not stupid. So, I'm vegetarian, of course.
Me too.
That's how you get to be spiritually intelligent. And so pilots are not spiritually intelligent. They are possessed of swine intelligence by eating swine, because animal food makes you animal conscious. So they are controlled. They're not looking, they're not thinking outside the box, they're not thinking things through.
I've heard you say before that if the Earth were really a sphere, these airline pilots would be having to adjust the nose of the plane like every few seconds. There's no way you could just stick an automatic pilot for a couple of hours and it would adhere to the surface of the globe. There would be constant correction required.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I get people come to me, and well, Santos, I know a pilot, and he said this and that, and you never, and he said that occasionally you've got to correct the horizon on the aeroplane for curvature, and I said, and that's so easy to to destroy, because flying at just do the math, flying at 600-700 mile an hour, which is their average speed, right? Around about the speed of sound, a little bit under, maybe 500, right? For the Earth's curvature, so that's 500 miles in an hour. So they would have to constantly be nose diving to account at that speed for the curvature of the Earth, and they're not. I've been in a plane where you're sitting there flat level and you can feel it. You can feel it for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. In fact, for freaking ever.
And you can look out the window and see that you're remaining straight.
Forever. You go in a plane, test it out for yourself. You can tell that the plane is not adjusting one single teeny weeny bit. It is flat forever. And this is why they have gyroscopes in planes. Gyroscopes would be totally redundant, pointless, a stupidity to even put them in any of these Mark III, Mark IV planes if we didn't live on a flat plane.
And you mentioned guys like Einstein and Newton earlier on as being part of the deception of what's going on. But there are many established and well-respected authors and researchers of the current age, of these contemporary times, that seem to be they are still firmly tied into the globe Earth model. I mean, two names that spring to mind for me straight away would be Graham Hancock and Jordan Maxwell. And I've heard both these guys talking about ancient texts, ancient civilizations, and, the mysteries of the universe, the nature of reality. And yet, from the language that they use, they're still clearly tied into the globe model way of thinking about things. If we are living on a flat plane, that would mean these guys and many others like them have been mistaken and duped for decades, despite immersing themselves in so much material and data and ancient texts and stuff. They still are missing this obvious point.
Yeah, they sure are. Absolutely, they're missing it. And I've always just been astonished at the fact that everyone else has missed syncretism. I just sit here in ecstasy and bliss daily through the syncretisms I get, and I just wonder how Graham Hancock missed it. Even Jordan Maxwell.
Yeah.
At least Jordan Maxwell is a humble, beautiful man who acknowledges that my syncretism is the best he has ever seen in his life, and he's studied everything, and he's put me on the top of his top 10 list of the greatest researchers now to research, on top of guys like Lord Pye, Maurice Cotterell, um, geniuses like this, Michael Tsarian, right on the top. Now, why? Because I didn't miss syncretism. I've been paying attention for 52 years. All I can say is all of these guys, all of these great researchers, all of them, they all missed syncretism. Yeah, I like Graham Hancock, by the way, and I love Jordan Maxwell, so I will never attack these guys.
Absolutely.
I will show them my love, and I'll say, guys, you got to get off that dunce ball. Get off the dunce ball. Doesn't exist. So I say to hell and to death with atheism and demonism, and let us bring back the true theology, geocentrism. Hallelujah.
The sun, we're taught through conventional education, is 93 million miles away. That's the figure we always get. It does seem a little bit inconceivable when you really think about it. 93 million miles is a hell of a distance to still be able to feel that heat. What would you say is a more accurate kind of revised figure for how far away we are actually from the sun?
A few hundred, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 miles. The sun's 32, 33 miles wide in diameter. This is where the 32 and 33 degrees of Freemasonry come in. And at times, probably at the Tropic of Cancer or at the equinoxes, the sun is around 3,300 miles, 3,300 miles high above the Earth. It gets much, much closer at the Tropic of Capricorn. I don't know how much, but it is a fact. You can tell, no matter which model you use, all the models tell you that the sun at perihelion is closer to the Earth at Capricorn, much closer than it is at Cancer. And so, where it is aphelion. And so, once you get the model correct and you get off this idiot Copernican, Keplerian crock and get your head in the right place, we will be able to dismantle this false temple, this falsehood of pseudoscience, and we will be able to bring everyone back to God, the Creator, to Godhead, and we can be in bliss forever. Intelligent, and we will never ever again suspend our intelligence for these service to self demons.
So a real big one then, is there space at all? Outer space as such, and can we go there, or is that all part of the illusion? I mean, I'm sure many people that even scoff at and reject the idea of a flat Earth do accept that NASA have constantly lied to us about their various space missions, and particularly the moon landings, and many people believe that it's not actually possible to go to the moon at all, let alone go out into space. So that throws out the International Space Station and satellites and all the rest of it. So presumably we are limited in terms of how far up we can go within this model.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This model, this universe is our universe, and we are the center of it, because wherever you are the center of the universe. But it is erroneous to suggest that it is the only one. God is not limited. Why are we limiting the Creator? You get these Christians that are flat earthers, and they preach that the globe was invented by Satanist atheists, which it was, in order to make us atheists so that we don't give glory to the Creator, because we are the center of the universe and the only universe. No. Let's not be limiting. There's nowhere in the scriptures where it says this. Nowhere. In fact, the scriptures say that there are many, countless universes. We cannot count them. And they are all the center of their universes. And we will go there, and we will most probably not have to go to the material planes anymore, but we will go to the spiritual planets, where we'll have spiritual form and spiritual intelligence. So in this conditioned temporal world, we have 8 conditions. 5 are gross and 3 are subtle. They are the external potency of Krishna, the Creator. And so the 5 gross elements are earth, water, air, fire, ether, and the 3 subtle ones are material mind, material intelligence, and false ego. Now these have their spiritual counterparts. And so when we embrace the higher mind, the Krishna consciousness, Christ consciousness, we we activate our higher consciousness, which consists of the three higher spiritual conditions, internal conditions of the Creator, which are ego, intelligence, mind in the spiritual form, and the other elements follow suit. And so this is why we are here to sublimate the lower and embrace the higher. And once we do, we will lose all the hocus pocus models. And so this is all I can say about the half-truthers out there who continue to stay on the fence, or well, not so much the fence. I can respect that, but the ones who, without doing research, are just sticking with the hocus pocus globe.
Yeah.
You are half-truthers, and you are doing harm to yourself, and you are supporting demon worship, and you are wrong, and you need to grow up and spiritualize your mind, and close off that false ego, the material mind, and the material intelligence. This is foolishness with the Creator. And this is the difference. This is why all the beautiful, beautiful spiritualized beings are on the flat earth. They are supporting it. They are seeing it. They can see it with their eyes. It's spiritually manifesting before them. The veil has been lifted. And these other ones have not had their veils lifted because they are too arrogant to acknowledge the Creator, that the Creator is Allah, or Krishna, or Jehovah. They don't want to acknowledge that one because they're Mayavadis, they're false teachers. They teach that we can go to the white light and we can be, they don't want to discuss the nature of the Creator. They believe that they are all that was and all that is and all that ever will be, and I am God and I am the white light, and blah, blah, blah. And these are all idiots, and they do not, they're too arrogant to acknowledge the Creator.
Yeah.
You see?
You touched on it briefly there, but just to get into the really profound spiritual implications of us living on a flat plane as opposed to a sphere. We look at the sun, moon and planets and we see them as spheres. We're taught that they're spheres, which is why we're so familiar with the idea that we are too. We just think of all the planets and all these heavenly bodies as being spheres, and we imagine that we're just a part of that. But if the Earth is different, it has profound implications because it means this place is special in creation. We are the centre of everything, and therefore we as spirits that get manifested here in physicality, we must be special too because we're a part of this place. And I know that skeptics will say it doesn't matter what shape the Earth is when there are bigger problems and issues around. There are other things we need to address, and we can worry about what shape the bloody Earth is afterwards. But I know you would argue that it is actually of profound importance in terms of how we view ourselves and our place here. It really does matter.
Absolutely it does matter. How dare you say such an offensive, stupid thing, I would say to them, because clearly all lies must be exposed, especially the bigger ones. This is the biggest one, and all the others hinge on it. So to say such a thing is offensive to the intelligence of the spiritualized beings and the ones who are advancing the truth movement today. These ones are discrediting the truth movement, contrary to what they say that the flat earthers are. They are dragging their heels, because the evidence is out on the table. It's a done deal, case closed. I rest my case with Tesla. Tesla says gravity is a crock, and relativity of Einstein. He thought Einstein was a monkey man with his relativity hocus pocus. So I rest my case with him. He was an intelligent that he could wipe the table with my intelligence, 10 times over. So I don't have to argue. I've got Tesla, I've got other great people, great scientists who don't believe, know that the Earth is a flat plane and a flat disk, and it's only, benefiting and serving the elite classes, that we are dragging our heels on this matter.
We know that the dark occult controllers of this place love offering little clues for those with eyes to see through their favourite tactic of placing the truth right there in plain sight. Things like predictive programming. This is an area that I get into myself big time in my public talks, and it forms a big part of the book that I've got coming out because I'm really fascinated by this tactic whereby they seem to feel the need to convey to us the truth of what they're doing in encoded form because they know that only a few will ever recognise and see it. But as far as they're concerned, they've alleviated the burden of karma that would ordinarily come down on them because they've given us an opportunity to know by doing just that, placing the truth right there in plain sight. And with regard to the flat earth, I'm thinking about things like the Truman Show movie, for instance, with Jim Carrey, where his character is seen sailing off towards the horizon to try and escape this nightmare world of illusion that he's discovered he's living in. And he hits the side of this dome and he realised that he's actually enclosed within this dome-like structure. And then you've got the Simpsons movie that came out a few years ago where a giant dome is placed over the top of Springfield and, you know, everybody's trapped inside it and they're trying to work out how they can get out of it. And I'm just wondering if those two examples and many others like them are the controllers letting us know, giving us an opportunity to know this truth about where we actually live, knowing that only a few will ever see it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, this is what confuses the half-truthers who are still buried in their indoctrination. You know, I've heard people say, "Oh, it's a psyop because the Freemasons are pushing," and the Jewish connection with the Freemasons. Of course, they would be pushing the flat Earth because it is Jewish. The Hebrew Scriptures teach only a flat Earth. They don't teach heliocentrism, demonism. The Scriptures are pure and true. And of course Christians are going to be saying, oh, we're the center of the universe and we're special and important and God created the flat Earth. And so there are Christians teaching it too. There are Muslims. Google Muslims and flat Earth and you'll see hundreds of them. Pastors, imams, teaching. The Quran specifically preaches that we have a absolutely 100% flat disk Earth. There is no ball. That's hocus pocus. So, and so, you know, they will naively say that, ignorantly say that this proves that it's a psyop. The contrary is true. This shows that these people are starting to see the truth of their scriptures and they can't deny it. And the truth must come out. All things hidden will be revealed in the last hour. This is the last hour. This is meltdown, Armageddon, Gotterdammerung for the demons and the powers that be and the elite. They're running scared because now we're pointing right at them and we know where the source of all evil is. It's not the Bilderbergers, the Jews, the Vatican, the Jesuits, the Knights of Malta, blah, blah, blah. It's demons. We have an infestation of demons. And we have had since Aristotle, since the Iron Age began. And there was a parting way, and the materialists went one way, and the spiritualists went one way, and Rome closed the spiritualist Neoplatonic schools and blessed the Aristotelian buffoon materialist schools, and the whole world agrees with Aristotle that we are a speck of dust flying around insignificant Big Bang style, rock, spinning ball, hocus pocus buffoonery.
Yeah, the Richard Dawkins model.
Yeah, and so where's the creator? No glory to the intelligent design.
And really this divide that we've got in the so-called truth movement where you've got people tearing chunks off each other and arguing and calling each other dipshits and fuckwits all over YouTube threads and Facebook threads all day long is exactly what the controllers want, isn't it? You know, they want divisiveness. They don't want any kind of unity in terms of people that can see the lies that are happening in the world. They want one camp arguing with another over one point or another. And it seems with this whole subject area, they've really got people anything but unifying and coming together and trying to address the problems that we all face. So they must be having a good old laugh at a job well done in terms of the way these different camps argue with each other all day long, don't you think?
Yeah, well, it's natural to do that, and especially when there are shills and agents infiltrating to cause that. But I'm here to change that. I'm going to reach out to all the geocentric flat earthers to join together and band together as one against demon worship, and support me, even if you don't like me. Support syncretism. Syncretism's the answer to divide and conquer, guys. There's no other way. It's syncretism. Support each other. Let's band together and let's make a claim, a lawful claim against the institutionalized system, and let's make them bring proof of their claim that gravity, relativity, the globe, Big Bang, the Hegelian dialectic, gravity, Darwinian monkey man evolution have any grounds in reality and evidence and fact at all. Where's the proof? So I'm reaching out to all the intelligent, lawful type ones that know how to file claims in courts, and let's go to the Vatican with a claim, guys. Join me. I'll do it. Support me. Let's fund a group of 10 or 20 guys to write up a document and write up and ask them, where's the evidence for this monkey man Einsteinian relativity? Where's the hocus pocus gravity you talk about? Give us proof of it. We can prove magnetism and electricity with simple tests. A little kid can do that. But how can they prove gravity, the idiots? So why don't we stop it, put an end to this demon worship and pimpocracy and all of this hate and killing and wars and military industrial complex and vaccinating, poisoning our children and chemtrailing and fluoride in the water to make our brains retarded. Poisons everywhere, poison everywhere by these elite criminal demons. Let's get together. I'm reaching out. I am reaching out. Let's band together and let's go out after the demons and vanquish them from this plane. And we can be happy. We can have music and salsa dance all day long. We don't have to go to jobs. We can do work instead, good alchemical work, sublimating our souls and bringing them to ascend to the heavens to be with Krishna and Radharani forever in virtues and dignity and glory and honor and respect for human life and for all life and bliss and Sat Chitananda and glory forever, unconditioned, unqualified, unlimited, immortal, omnipresent, omniscient.
Santos, do you want to just remind people where they can find your work online? You're all about syncretism. I think you've got a new blog site now, is that right?
I'm on faceuni.com, that is social media, facebook.com, of course. I'm on TSU, social media, Twitter now. Someone's helping me with Twitter. Universaltruthschool.com is my website. One word, universaltruthschool.com. My free presentation channels is YouTube. One word, MrAstrotheology, MrAstrotheology. And there you can enjoy syncretism and be freed and give glory to the Creator and to your own creatorship and to your own divinity and vanquish demonism forever.
And do you still travel and tour around doing lectures, or do you pretty much stay where you are now?
No, I'll just stay here. I'm happy to stay put. I want to try and attract people to me who will help me write a book and make websites and create astrological syncretism websites, the best astrology reading sites ever. I want to make a syncretism documentary based on geocentrism. I've got a lot of projects. I need so much help, and I'm trying to attract that through good hoping and intent, and hopefully I can reach out more and make more good products.
Well, it's been a fascinating conversation today, brother. Thanks for coming on. I certainly think this conversation will cause a lot of people to do some deep thinking, hopefully do some further research. So, yeah, there's a lot of value to it. Thanks for coming on today. I'm glad we did this.
This is just for fun.
I'm picking up vibrations. I'm picking up good vibrations. I'm picking up